Hi everyone. I wanted to try to explain in more detail your next big project. I've called it Myth and Media Project. You could look at it really as myth and pop culture or mythic representation in the arts. So, with this assignment, you're either going to look at a myth in its entirety or you're going to choose a god or goddess. And what you're going to do is find a representation of that myth or that god or goddess in some other form. So, perhaps that other form maybe is The Simpsons. There's a Simpsons episode that deals with the Odyssey, and maybe you want to look at the god Odysseus and its representation in The Simpsons. Or perhaps the god Prometheus or the myth of Prometheus. There's a poem by Lord Byron, and you might want to look at how it's represented there. Or maybe even it's Botticelli's The Birth of Venus and looking at the goddess Venus. So, in other words, you're going to think about a god or goddess or myth, find its representation in another form, and then you're going to do your project around that. So, what you're going to do is analyze it. Is it an effective representation? Why or why not? If it's maybe strayed from the original myth or the original role of the god or the goddess, how? What do they add? Do you think it's a good straying? Does it still show something? How does this representation help us understand the essence of the original myth? What's always key is that you need to support your evaluation with evidence from the original myth and evidence from the medium, whether it's the artwork, the film. So, how do you submit this project, right? I gave you choice. You can submit it as an essay in text form. You can make a video of yourself discussing your findings, sort of like this, although you can't see me, right? Almost like it's a talk show bit with you, where you talk about the original myth, or the god or goddess. And then maybe you integrate clips. Let's say if you're analyzing a movie representation, you may have some clips in it. The other thing you can do is just a strict audio file with no visuals where you discuss your findings, right? I know that there's always a question length. What do I do about length? If it's an essay, 3 to 4 pages. Audio or video, approximately 5 minutes. What you really want to know is, have you convinced your reader of your assertion about the representation of the myth or of the god, or the representation of the god or goddess? So look over the grading criteria for the assignment. And again, this is due in several weeks. Please don't hesitate to write me with any questions or concerns.